Ladies and gentlemen, this just in. Xander Maguire reports that Collingwood have launched an audacious bid to secure the services of Charlie Curnow. What on earth is going on? Wowee. Now, if we thought the Petrarcas of the past, the Ben Kings and the futures, were speculative plunges into thinking we can acquire these players, then we've got a new one. Trumps them all. Charlie Curnow, the two-time Coleman medalist, bled navy blue up until this point. He's got his brother, Ed Curnow, was a big part of the club. I mean, there's that conversation that we had. Not exactly the same situation as a Jack Silvani, given that surname is a household name at Carlton, but this one would roll up Carlton fans as well, and the general media. I mean, what is this about? I suppose let's break this down for what it's worth, and we can go from there. So, what is the financial reality for the Pies? We have limited draft capital. Now, we know that Brody Myercheck and Jamie Elliott could be on the way out. Therefore, we will open up salary cap space in some way or another with our veteran players signing up on lesser contracts. So we know that's not my greatest concern. It's more so to do with the limited draft capital we have. So at the very least, I would imagine Charlie Curnow is worth a first-round draft pick, probably two, which we certainly wouldn't be able to get a hand on, at least as far as I would be aware. We could probably access a 2026 or 2027 first-round draft pick, but you do have to use a certain amount of first-round draft picks every 4 years, and we've already given away 2 of the last couple of years. So it gets messy there, but then you can ask the AFL for exemption in exceptional circumstances. I don't know if this would be classified as an exceptional circumstance, unless what's exceptional in AFL's eyes? Like, if this would be massive for the AFL market if Charlie Curnow went from Carlton to the black and white. That would create headlines for the next 24 months at the very least. The build-ups into the Collingwood Carlton games, it would be massive. He is also in business with the Dacos brothers, with the Barry alcoholic beverage that they sell together. There's that. So there is that connection. How far that goes in this world, I'm not entirely confident that goes too far. But yeah, you'd have to move on contracts like a Jamie Elliott, like a Brody Myercheck. Who could you possibly send to Carlton? It probably would require a three-way trade at that point, and that's when it gets really messy. So I'm not even gonna even try and make sense of that. But if it was a one-way offer between two clubs, being Collingwood and Carlton, at the very least, a first-round draft pick and a player like a Beau McCreary and Isaac Quaynor. And I just don't see those kind of players leaving, especially with Beau McCreary basically stating it's always been Collingwood and he owes it to the club. And Quaynor is in the leadership team. So I would find it'd be very hard pressed to see an Isaac Quaynor leave the club and a Beau McCreary. However, there could be some room made if Bobby Hill does in the end move back home to be closer with his kids. That's a possibility, and that would certainly get us another first-round draft pick and maybe some change. I don't know if Bobby Hill is worth 2 first-round draft picks as a small forward. You don't really see that unless they're absolute superstars, and Bobby is a star, but to give up 2 first-round draft picks, I think you'd have to, it just has to be an absolute superstar, a top 20 player in the league. And I don't think Bobby Hill is quite that. But he's a top 5 player in his position, but it's not the most demanding position on the field. So take that as you will. We've heard the whole lifestyle factor conversation around Charlie Curnow, wanting that Lance Franklin move, the Jake Stringer move, where they go from Victoria and they leave the AFL bubble and go to a Sydney Sydney's probably the option, right? And then there's Geelong not too far down the road, but far enough away from Melbourne, where maybe he can get some under-the-table money by way of ambassadorships with like Cotton On and maybe a farm. So there's that as well. Look, this is a conversation within its infancy. It's such an odd time for Xander Maguire to leak this, given it's the prelim weekend. So like it's a conflicting conversation. I don't feel great talking about it, but it's news and we must talk about it because it's such a big name from a rival club. It's a dream target. In my eyes, it's almost impossible given the permutations and what we have to offer. He's 29 next year. So then you continue to kick the can down the road. What does that mean for Charlie West, the potential Noah Howes? There's concerns around the way Curnow finished up his season at Carlton with the lack of pressure and just a lack of willingness to play at the highest level. But I can play the other side and say, well, he was just mentally checked out, like many of the Carlton players were. Tom de Koning, Charlie Curnow, Paddy Cripps didn't have a great season. So I don't know how much you read into a player who was a part of a team that was just beaten from pillar to post in every direction, whether it be on the field or through mainstream media. So it's exhausting, which has me asking myself, why would he want to go from a Carlton to a Collingwood where the pressure would probably be even more given the fact he's moving from Carlton to Collingwood? What does that mean for Ben King next season? I think this one's come a bit too early. If Curnow wanted to move next season, maybe that would be more of a realistic situation. But I think if we had to choose a Ben King or a Charlie Curnow, I just say we wait the year and go hard for Ben King, who's at least a few years younger than Charlie Curnow. So you get a bit of youth in that way, relative youth, when we talk compare the two players, and just bleed in a Charlie West, make him feel like he is the guy. Why can't he grow into a Logan Morris or a Cal Shadir around experienced forwards like Jamie Elliott, pressure players like Bo McCreary, Lockie Schultz? Hopefully Bobby Hill is there. McStay will be around. Membry will be around. I think there's a great opportunity that lies in Charlie West's hands if he doesn't have any more incoming plays. Then there's Jack Buller as well, who's already is essentially going to request a trade. So look, Collingwood clearly keeping all their options open in the trade period and the free agency period, which you wouldn't be doing your due diligence if you weren't doing that. So I respect that. And at the end of the day, we can speculate and go through all the theoretical options that could be, but we just don't know the ins and outs, the intricacies behind draft picks, players who we don't know might want out, players who, those sorts of things we don't really know. We can try and make sense of it, but in the end, if it was to happen, I'm sure we could put up a million different equations. The 1,000,001 equation will be the one Collingwood would go for, and we go, damn, we didn't see that coming. So a 3-way trade, 4-way trade, it could get messy. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a 10% chance of that happening, and that's me being generous. So look, I extend the conversation to you guys in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Hopefully, in a couple days, we can revisit this while we're on our way to the grand final, or we can just push this conversation to after the grand final when we secure flag number 17. Ladies and gentlemen, go Pies.